Hello, YouTube. It's your boy GZTV, back with another video. This is one of two videos. We're going to be actually talking about a Drake album today. We're going to start kind of like a Drake month, kind of. I'm not sure when he's dropping for all the dogs, but I might honestly do like a Trippie Red review tomorrow just because he's dropping an album this week. I know I've already done Liza Trip. I think I'm going to do Exclamation Point because that's probably my next favorite Trippie Red album. But yeah, I think we'll do that tomorrow. Today is Drake Take Care, so that's awesome. Next week we could possibly do like Amigos album for Quavo. But, we're here to talk about Dexter New Blood. We are here at the third episode. We're 30% through the spinoff. Not sure if they're adding anything else or any other. I mean, this was made in late 2021, so I'm not really sure how further down the line another season would be if they make one, but yeah. So Dexter enrolls Harrison in school and is persuaded by the principal to connect more with his son. And things get kind of personal. The principal's kind of taking shots at him because it's like, well, you weren't there for your son. You should probably. I'd advise you to like be more involved in his school life, especially. That's one of the most important parts of their kid's life. Dexter is later called into the police station where Angela explains that wildlife cameras in the woods identified Matt in an unrecognizable figure through thermal imaging, and we all know that's Dexter. Dexter was the one that confronted, or was like petting the deer, and then Matt shot the deer. Dexter didn't do anything wrong in that regard, but killing Matt, and obviously, like, if he's connected to this, killing Matt's gonna get him in big trouble, of course. When Dexter identifies the rifle as the one he sold to Matt, Angela orders a further investigation of the crime scene, shocking Kurt. Because he's like, well, damn, there's more to this story than like just my son getting away. And they think he possibly died. Someone possibly killed him. They're going to have a crazy, like, advanced criminal investigator pull up to the scene. So, yeah, an Albany crime scene investigator arrives at the scene to help with the investigation. Pretty much does his job just as good as Dexter, possibly even better. Analyzing the scene, telling them what happened. That's what, what's his name? That's what Dexter's job was down in Miami. To Dexter's disappointment, he correctly deduces that someone attacked Matt after he shot the deer. So there's more problems than just shooting a deer on native land and running away. It's, someone saw him do this and attacked him out of retaliation. Angela calls in for search dogs to help the next day, and has Kurt cooperate with a sample of his DNA to confirm Matt's involvement. I mean, obviously he's not going to turn that down. He needs to know more about his son. During the night, Dexter exhumes the bags containing Matt's pieces to relocate it and uses Matt's vest to mislead the dogs by passing it throughout the crime scene. I mean, Dexter's a smart guy. He thinks of everything throughout. This is something that not a lot of criminals would think of doing. It's kind of crazy. Meanwhile, Lily is suddenly allowed to exit her room and escapes into the wilderness, discovering that she was being held in a bunker. So there's this whole side story that hasn't really come into full fruition yet, full frame. We're not really sure who this like killer guy is, what this girl's background is, anything like that. It's just one of those background things that's kind of happening, kind of like every like early Dexter season, where you'd have killers doing stuff in the background, and then there'd be a main storyline concerning some characters from the show. And yeah, that's pretty much what's happening here. Dexter killed someone, and they might catch him doing it, or find out that he did it. But there's also this other thing going on. So, a man wearing a white ski mask then shoots her from a distance, killing her, which is kind of surprising that this character died off so early, because we don't really know what the hell is happening here. Dexter hears the gunshot, but dismisses it as hunters. I mean, he is kind of on, like, hunting ground, even though it's kind of illegal. Like, he's still in hunting territory, like, in the woods. She's like, oh, hunters, can't ever get rest around here. But it was actually someone getting murdered, so, yeah. So Harrison scores an excellent placement exam, but is suspected of having cheated, so he is forced to do it again, managing to improve his score. That's kind of fucked up. I mean, the school system will do that to a kid. They say, oh my god, he somehow got an amazing score. The proctor left during the exam, which why the fuck would they even do that? But he had to prove them right, and even more than right. He applies for the wrestling team and discovers that Zach and some students are bullying a fellow student, Ethan, who's played by Christian Deledera. By having him be in a texting relationship with a girl that doesn't exist, that they're fake texting him. And I'm not gonna lie, that's happened to some people in my high school before. That's a real thing. Like, that's something that pieces of shit do in high school. Like, it's not a fake thing. Sorry if my hair looks fucking stupid as shit. I just got out of the shower, but yeah. Harrison tells Ethan about the facade and helps him get revenge by sending a Photoshop version of Zach in front of his friends, embarrassing him. Zach prepares to attack Ethan when Harrison intervenes, choking and threatening him. I don't know where the hell this guy got this from. Like, all of a sudden Harrison's like this insane fighter. I don't know what the hell happened. While in the car with Audrey, the car breaks down. Like, he's driving with her to go get some stuff for, like, dinner and stuff. While Harrison goes to ask for help, Audrey is approached by Olsen once again, and she rebuffs him. She doesn't fuck with this guy. She's protesting everything he's doing. You know, he doesn't give a fuck. He's up in his mansion with his millions and billions and, like, fucking up the environment. True crime podcaster Molly Park, played by Jamie Chung, arrives at the scene intending to find any useful information. They're just fucking... I mean, they're not pestering Dexter because he's not going to appear bothered, but I mean, they kind of are. Facing pressure from Deborah, a fake Deborah, we know is his vision, his new dark passenger. She pretty much does what Harry did the entire series. Dexter decides to put Matt's pieces in a cave, but is forced to leave when a bear emerges from the cave, scrapping his plans. It's kind of fucking funny, really. That night, he dines with Angela, Audrey, and Harrison at her house. I mean, he was planning on disposing of the body in a better way, but he had to go for dinner because the sun was going, and it would look bad if he wasn't there. Audrey expresses frustration to Angela for putting the deer's corpse in the butcher shop. Like, why would you just lay his body there? It could have been used for something. Angela allows her to give the deer back to the Seneca people, who burn the deer in a bonfire, kind of like as like a ritualistic tribal thing to sacrifice it, pretty much. After that, Dexter apologizes to Harrison for not supporting him and promises to do better, and that's kind of where his character development's going to come in, I think, in this series, is just being a better father. Harrison replies with "Thanks, Dad," which pleases Dexter because he's finally calling him Dad. Inspired by the bonfire, Dexter takes Matt's body to pieces and throws him in a factory incinerator, giving him relief. Like, he could have just did that the whole time. He could have found an incinerator, and he did. And he disposed of the body, so now he's pretty much clear of the crime, unless they find some little evidence. While driving through town, he wonders if his mind about his murder methods and problems when he sees a drunk Kurt outside the tavern, pretty much trying to cope with his loss. Kurt claims to have seen and talked to his son via FaceTime, obviously being drunk and hallucinating. Dexter decides to take him home, but questions Kurt's state of mind. Like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? It's not a normal way to grieve, even though he is probably a little bit intoxicated. I would say it's a pretty good episode. 7 out of 10 on IGN. It's a pretty good... Yeah, it's good. Harrison continued to be a pill this episode in smoke signals, but some solid hints were dropped that he might be the host to a dark passenger himself, which would open up several new interesting paths for New Blood to take. Dexter's continuing efforts to erase his brutal botch from the premiere had already overstayed their welcome prior to this episode, so his Matt Caldwell problems didn't make for the new content one may have hoped for, but it was still interesting to watch the show's killer themes shift over to Harrison. You know, this very aggressive thing to get back at the bullies. As Dexter was devout in covering this up and getting back to his old routine, Harrison's own past is peeking through as a fresh darkness to deal with. I gotta be on the AV Club. With an original ending so reviled, New Blood is on a short leash with its audience as much as if it was a brand new series. There's little time to dilly-dally, so while it's completely understandable that Winter Dexter needed time to warm up, it's a shame that some people might not have made it through to Smoke Signals, this season's most promising episode yet. It's also the first episode to capture that sense of fun and mischief that saturated Dexter in its prime. I got a 4 out of 5 on Vulture. Warming up after a debut consisting of 2 relatively tepid and whiny episodes, Dexter New Blood is chipping the ice on the fun of the original series in episode 3. Not to drive a nail in the coffin in terms of both murder puns and Dexter Morgan, Jim Lindsay bashing, but it's worth noting that the best episode out of this first batch of 3 is the one to feature its titular character the least. Just saying. I got a 3.5 out of 5 on Den of Geek. While Dexter New Blood can't shake all the show's bad habits, some of its new tricks are helping to offset them. 4 out of 5 on TV Fanatic. One thing that Dexter New Blood does well is giving space to the traditions and rituals of the Seneca people. The deer burning scene was beautiful. Felt right to give reverence to the character that was arguably the catalyst for Matt's murder. And I think that was really interesting how they included that. They have like this whole tribal thing where they're paying homage to like traditions and all that. Yeah, this show's pretty good. I mean, I think this episode's good. Obviously, the first 2 episodes weren't terrible. They were just a little boring. And now we're starting to pick it up a little bit. Storylines are starting to break through. We're starting to get some character development.